All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over a series of video presentations where I've been building a body mass index or BMI calculator in multiple languages. I'm on the 8th in my series of 8, and I am creating a very simple Android app that really will not have any or very little, what am I looking for? What word am I looking for? Very little validation set up for it, all right? But I want to come in here and start adding a few things. First thing is I'm going to go in and add 3 import statements. Import android.view.view. Okay, we're going to go over that in class, but basically it's needed for a lot of different things that you do in Android. Import android.widget.editText and import android.widget.textView. All right, we're going to need that for the code that we're going to be writing in just a second. All right, next thing that I want to do is I want to declare my class variables. And there'll be 3 of them. There'll be the edit text that I'm going to call height text, and that's going to hold whatever value I've got in that height text box. Edit text weight text, and that's going to hold whatever's in the weight text box. And text view BMI text, and that's going to hold what's going to go into the text view that holds the BMI. So we're going to call this right here holds value of height text box. Holds value of weight text box. Holds value of calculated BMI. All right, so we wanted those. All right, that's all we need in here. Of course, we're not done yet, but that's what we needed in there. Now, onCreate is kind of, at least, the equivalent of a regular constructor for Java. So this is where we do the initialization. So what do I want to do in here? I want to set references to the class variables declared above. All right, so there'll be 3 of them. Height text equals, and we have to cast that into the right type. It's an edit text of find view by ID r.id.edit text height. Cut down the size just a little bit. There we go, and cut this down. So there's our first one. And again, that is going to map this variable here to its equivalent that exists inside of our XML file. That's the first one. Then we want to do it again. I'm just going to change that to a W, and I'm going to change that to a W. And again, the same mapping is taking place. All right. Finally, I want this one, but I want this to say BMI text. Okay. And I want that to be equal to, that's of a type text view. All right, and that's going to be not edit text, but text view, what is that? BMI, I believe. No, that's going to be text view result. All right. And the last thing I like to do this is I want to make sure that when the program starts, the cursor is in the height text box. So I'll do a height text dot request focus. We have set focus in some languages. Here it's request focus. All right. Still, if I save this, which I'll do, if I run the program, it still is not at all operational. It's not doing anything yet, but we're going to make it do something right now. So the first one that we had in here, so we're going to put in here public void calculate, and that will be working with, if we need it, with a view object. We might not even need that, but I'm going to put it in there anyway. And then we're going to do our public void clear, and it's also going to hold a view object. All right, so in other words, and you know this, but code that runs when the calculate button, button is clicked, and the other one, of course, will be the code that runs when the clear button is clicked. All right, so think about for the clear button, because that's the easier one, so let's do that first. What do we want to have happen when we click that clear button? Well, look over here. We want whatever was in this edit text to clear out, whatever was in this edit text to clear out, whatever was in this text view to clear out, and then we want the cursor to come back here. So, kind of nice to write a little comment there. Not that it just says code that runs, but let's just say this method 1 clears the height text box, 2 clears the weight text box, 3 clears the BMI edit text, and 4 sets the focus to the height text box. So I want a period to be consistent. All right, so that's not hard to do. So we say height text. Okay, again, we want to clear out these text boxes first. So height text dot set text to the empty string. That's the first one. All right, next we want to do weight, but since it's identical to height except for changing that first letter, we can do this. Okay, so that's done. Then this is BMI text, I believe. In fact, there's a result text. Call it result, or do we call it answer text? I don't remember up there. BMI text, I don't like that. I'm going to call this answer text here because it's going to hold the answer. Now, would it work okay if I called it BMI? Of course it would. So this will change to answer also. All right. I'm just cleaning stuff up for lack of better words. So this is answer. All right. And then finally, as we head up above here, we want to request the focus. So I'm just going to steal that line that we put in up above and paste it in here. Now, I'm going to save this to a file, save all. Now when I run it, nothing's going to happen when I click the calculate button. But when I click the clear button, everything, those two things should clear out. If there's anything in that one, it should clear out, and the focus should go back there. So let's try it. I'll again keep using the Nexus 1. When we get all done, and if it runs, we'll check it on the Nexus 1 and on the Nexus 10 tablet emulator so you can see what they both look like. This emulator is so much slicker than the way it used to be. It used to take up to 10 or 15 minutes for this to come up. Now it's more like about 1 to 2 minutes. It's such a nice improvement. So I'm going to come in here and I will put in 72 for the height, 111 for the weight. I'm done. Click clear. Everything's cool. Good. I don't think I can even come in here and enter anything. So calculate. Right now it says open app. In other words, it's breaking because there's no code there. It's trying to execute code, but there's no code to execute. So let's put some in. Remember, that's not called calculate. It's called calculate the BMI. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. So first, let's declare the local variables. And they're local because they're being declared inside of a method, as opposed to these that were declared outside of any method. So we could even say declare global variables here. Maybe that's a cleaner way to put it as opposed to local. So string status equal the empty string, and that's going to hold the status, i.e. underweight, etc. Just leave it like that. String result, and that's going to be equal to the empty string, and that will hold what I will call the output string. All right. Then we'll have here int height, and that will be equal to integer dot parse int. We want to grab the value that's in that text box. So height text dot get text dot to string. I have to make this smaller. Height text dot get text dot to string. Okay, and that's literally saying grab what was in that text box. And we want another one, but it's got weight and weight. Okay. Plus, we'll need one more variable that's in here. Double. We'll call it BMI value. We'll set that equal to weight divided by math.pow height 2. And what that is saying basically is height squared times 703. So that's going to hold the value of our calculated BMI. All right. So now we're ready. We can calculate the BMI status. We already said that's underweight, overweight, or optimal weight. And that's going to go right off the page. So okay. So if that BMI value that we just calculated, if it's less than 18.5, then your status is equal to underweight. In fact, let's put it all in caps. Okay. Else, if it's greater than 25, then you are overweight. And if you're not underweight and you're not overweight, else your status is going to be equal to, well, that's interesting. Huh. It's going to be equal to optimal weight. All right, so now we have calculated the BMI status. So now we're ready to do it, build the output string. All right, not very much code, about 5 or 6 more lines, and we're done. So result equal height plus height text dot get text dot to goodness. Let's make this a bit smaller so we're sure we can see all of it. Get text dot to string plus, after that we will put in a tab. Why? You'll see in just a minute. All right, so there's the first thing. Then we want to add to that the weight. And we're going to put this on 3 lines. So \n right there. Then we want the BMI. And we want a \n after that. And finally, we want the status. That should be a plus there. All right, now we have built our output string. Now we have to assign the output string to the answer text field. So answer text dot set text, because we're setting a value, and that value will be result. Now that's everything. Let's save it, run it, see if it works, and then go back, decompose it a bit, and take a look at, we're at 18 minutes, so I only want to go for about 5 more minutes or so. But let's take a look and make sure, first let's make sure it works, that I didn't type in anything incorrectly. The output's not going to look real nice. We'll worry a little bit more about formatting it, etc. in the next video. So height, we'll put in here 72. Weight, we'll put in 111. Calculate, there's our height, there's our weight, there's our BMI, and we're underweight. That's a good start. Let's clear and try it again. 72, the person is about 177 pounds. We calculate their optimal weight because it's within range, so that's good. You can already see things that we'll want to change as far as it doesn't look really great right now. Clear again, come up here. 72, we'll make that about 333 pounds. Calculate, and they're overweight. Everything right now appears to be working, including our clear button. All right, so to finish up then with part 1 of this, what we did was we went in and we built our interface. Then we went back and we renamed all of our controls. Then we went into the strings.xml file and set up string values for localization. Okay, so in case we ever want to make a version of this in French and Spanish or whatever, we're able to do that. Then we went back to here after renaming our components and after setting up our strings file. We filled in the height, weight, text here and the calculate and clear here. The values we used to do that were from, again, our strings.xml file. All right. And we went back and took one last look at our interface in XML to make sure we weren't forgetting anything. We also made sure that when we created the text view, we created a numeric only text view, or edit text, I should say. So the input type was number here. The input type was number here. Then we started writing our code, where we first came in and added our own 3 import statements. All right, then we created our global variables. They're global because they're at the top of the program to hold the value of the height text box, the value of the weight text box, and the value of the calculated BMI. Then we basically initialized these 3 variables by setting references to them, and we also made sure that when the program began running, that we were sure that we set the focus or the cursor to our first text box, the one for the height. Then we, after that, because I didn't do it in order, then we put in the code for the clear method, which, as it says on here, cleared the height text box, cleared the weight text box, cleared the BMI edit text, and set the focus to the height text box. Hopefully you can see the advantage of putting in comments as you're doing this. Finally, we went in and we wrote the calculate the BMI, where we created and used 5 different local variables. Status, which is going to hold underweight, overweight, or optimal weight. Result, which will hold our output string that we created a little later. Height, which we grabbed, where we grab the value in the height edit text, which automatically is a string, and we are converting it over right there to an integer. Weight, same thing, but with the weight text box. And then BMI value, where we're actually doing the calculation. After we do the calculation, so we have a BMI value, we check that value, and if it's less than 18.5, they're in the underweight range. If it's greater than 25, they're in the overweight range. And if it's between the two, they're in the optimal weight range. So we're calculating the BMI status in here. All right, then we're building our output string as a combination of height, weight, the BMI, and the status. And we're putting this over 3 lines. And I showed you that we did that by coming in here, and for that last text view, we set max lines and lines to 3. All right, and then finally, we wrote, we took and assigned that output string that we've been building here called result. We assigned it to this text box right here. Hopefully that made sense. Hopefully that helped. I do want to show you one last thing. Let me do one last file. Save all. All right. And I'm going to run the program. First, as I promised, I wanted to show you what it looked like in a tablet as opposed to a phone. Again, these are emulators. It won't look perfect, etc. But it should be functional. It might look better in here, or it might look worse than here than it looked on the phone. All right, it's very small, but you can see, I come in here, and again, let's put in 44, and for here, let's put in 200, and calculate, and it has everything. All right, very hard to see, but it does, and the clear works as well. The problem that we have in here right now is, what if we have nothing in here and we click calculate? The app is stopped. Open the app again, because we're not handling no input. All right, so we're not handling it if we have no value in either the height or the weight. Also, if we were, let's bring it up and let's open it up again. All right, so let's run it again. Let's put in some god-awful height, 555, and some god-awful weight, 66677. And it works. it gives them a BMI where they'd already probably be dead, but it handles that. So what we'll do in the next video is we're going to come in and pretty it up a little bit, or attempt to, and also we're going to come in here and attempt to put in some constants and do some more validation that we're not currently doing. All right, so I'm going to do a file, save all, and I'm going to do a file, close project. Okay, and I don't know why it didn't close it, but it didn't. I guess it did. And the other thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the project that we currently have, all right, so right now in BMI, version 1 is done, all right, and I don't know if this will work or if it'll be any problems with that, but I'm going to grab this, copy, paste. I'm just making a copy of it. I don't want to start with something brand new. That's just a waste of your time to watch me keying in the same stuff I just keyed in. Don't know if it'll have any problem at all with me changing that to a 2. There might be ramifications later. I may have to change it back, but we'll see. All right, so I want to come in here again, and I want to open an existing project. I want to go to my desktop and to BMI and to chapter 8 and to version 2, and I want to open that one right there. Again, as of right now, it looks, or should look, following modules we have. I still don't think it's going to like the what I put in there as far as the name, but we'll see. So I now have 2 projects that are identical to one another. We're going to start on the next one by handling more of our validation. So I'm going to jump right into the code with the next one. I'll be back with that shortly.